It's like I'm walking on sunshine.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to DoomCast. I am Charlie McGrath, joined by co-founder of DoomCast, Doug Owen. On this first, hey, Doug.
Hey.
On this first day of 2014, January 1st, Wednesday, 2014, our inaugural program for the year, obviously. And you were right on our last DoomCast. You said, hey, this might be the last one for the year, man.
Yeah.
And you were right. It was.
I feel bad. We got a couple texts and some great appreciative emails because people were excited that we're going to be able to do the show on Christmas Eve. And sorry about that, folks.
Well, it wasn't. No, I think the plan was we were going to try. Neither one of us could do it on Christmas Eve, but we were going to try to get together on Christmas and maybe do a little, 25, 30-minute. And then, I don't know, I didn't call you, you didn't call me, and we just enjoyed Christmas, I think.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
I was like, if Charlie really, really wants to do it, he'll get a hold of me, and I'm sure you thought the same.
That's exactly what I thought. And here's the truth. Here's the God's honest truth. Tomorrow, I'm so ready for all this to be over, the holiday season. I'm so ready. It screws up everything, especially when Christmas falls on a Wednesday, especially when New Year's falls on a Wednesday. If you're lucky enough to have a job, it just completely screws up your week and your timing. And I don't know, it feels like it's Sunday night to me right now instead of Wednesday night. I haven't done a show on Rinse for 2 weeks because my program's on Wednesdays. Dinah Everett-Snyder hasn't done a program for 2 weeks because her show's on Tuesday and they weren't broadcast. I'm just ready for it to be over and get into
out of the lag into the New Year's resolutions, all of that. So do you have any resolutions? Anything that you're going to be striving for in 2014?
Oh, that's a good question. Can I think about it? and come back? Can we circle back around to that, Doug Owen?
Sure. Yeah, it's funny because I haven't thought of one either. And I was talking with my wife, and I was like, I don't know. I'm doing everything I think I should be doing. And maybe that's a great sign that I'm trying to do everything I can. And if it's possible, I'm trying to work it into the schedule. So there's nothing that I can think of that I'm not doing that I should be doing, and that, whether it's, working out or, spending more time with friends or family. I mean, anything that's happening. I mean, there's some aspirations and maybe some goals, but, there's nothing that I figure that, I need to quit. I'm not, hopping on the wagon or jumping off of it or any of the other things that usually go along with that whole time. How'd you ring in the new year?
I went to bed at 10:30 last night. I just didn't care. But I want to get back to the resolution thing. Yeah, because I'm kind of the same way. I have been thinking over the last. Well, you and I have been working hard on and talking quite a bit about DoomCast, and the site's being built right now. It'll probably be launched. I'm sure. I don't know, done, but definitely launched by next week's DoomCast. So we'll have chat in there. But I'm kind of like you. I don't know. I work out now. I don't drink. I can't think of anything. I mean, I would like to do more with this DoomCast and Wide Awake News. I would like to, be able to invest some more time and energy into that, because it seemed like the last month of the year, just even the time to sit down and do more than 1 or 2 videos a week, commentary videos for the YouTube channel, have been difficult. So I'm hoping to and Doug, this will cycle with the news, and I think as we see news becoming more doomier in 2014, I think we'll see at least in myself a resurgence. I want to get ahead of that a little bit, but into the site, into the YouTube channel, into the radio program. It's kind of like we talked about before when we were talking about our radio programs, how you get this massive increase when there's horrible crap going on in the world. You get a big increase in number of people visiting your site, big increase in number of people visiting your radio program, and I want to be ahead of all that this year. I want to be, I think 2014 is going to be a very, very important year and a very tumultuous year.
Yeah, I think it might be as well. If you look at some of the predictions, Gerald Salente's annual famous trends is out, and we juxtaposed it to the trends forecast for 2013. So you can check that out at blacklistednews.com.
Let me check. When did you post that?
Day before yesterday, I think it was. It's there. Just, look, search.
I gotta scroll.
Oh, yeah. Or you can just hit Control F and hit, Salente there. But anyway, I mean, there's a lot of people that make their big predictions for 2014. What's going to happen? How
do you spell Salente?
Celente. Salente.
I'm Irish. Can't you tell?
Maybe.
I didn't see. I didn't see this report, but I want to see it now.
Oh man!
Top trends of 2014.
Yeah.
A year of extremes. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's what he called it. A year of extremes. And I don't discount Gerald Salente, but he's not always on the mark. So I would say
who is?
Well, nobody that puts out predictions.
Well, I mean, besides like Goldman Sachs and the guys that are writing history, they're right more than they're not, only because they're controlling it. So when they come out and say gold's probably going to go up, you can be pretty sure it's going to go up. When they say gold's going to go down, you can be pretty sure it's going to go down because they have a big hand in manipulating all of that.
Gold and silver, one of the worst investments of 2013. If you were looking at your portfolio, it was a bad year. And a great one for the stock market, ostensibly. We rode out on highs and lots of hopium. So people are pretty excited about that. And we may have some wars on the precipice.
Crap. It's all bull crap. All of it. All of it's bull crap. Gold's real money. Silver's real money. It's tangible. It's not. You can't be inflated away. And look at it. It finishes the worst year in a decade. And the stock market, 16,000 points on the Dow Jones, these incredible numbers. And, it's all a freaking lie. All of it. Because the truth is, with the stock market increase comes the new highs in poverty, the new highs in unemployment, the new highs in people living paycheck to paycheck, the new lows in savings, the new lows in personal wealth. It is really frustrating to see a year like 2013 where you have this, like you called it, hopetimism. Did you say hopetimism?
Hopium.
Hopium? I said
it's like opium, but it's hopium.
Mainline it. You can mainline the hope.
Yeah.
We got doomium. Wait a minute.
Yeah, doom porn.
No, I'm trying to make a drug out of it here.
Doomium.
Doomium. Doomium. Mainline it. So, I mean, but you see a year like 2013 roll by where all this fluff is fed to us. And I'm working on a project right now. Government dependency leads to tipping point. That's 2014. And this is a video I'll have out here in the next day or so.
Sounds doomy.
It is very doomy because of what you were just alluding to there. We get fed all this hopium, 2013 stock market high, unemployment numbers falling, and banks doing better than ever before, profits up at corporate profits up. But in reality, what you have is the end of the government subsidy of recovery. You see the ending of the government doling out money hand over fist in order to feign recovery. So what do we see? We see a legislation passed here towards the end of the year that gives more money to the Department of Defense, but at the same time cuts 1.3 million long-term unemployed. It lets those benefits go by the wayside. And this is going to be the trend. I haven't read Gerald's thing yet here, but this is going to be the trend in 2014. We're going to see the government turn on the people that it was trying to buy off over the last 5 years. These 50 million people on food stamps, 100 million people receiving a government check, 1.3 million that are on long-term unemployment. Sorry, guys. It was all to get you to go along with the program, which was, put trinkets out, give you trinkets, sprinkle a little bit of cash on you here, while we just absolutely inundate a very, very few banks with all of your wealth and all of your future. So they are going to claw this money back from the people. They're going to take it back, and they're going to use their own phony statistics to do it, just like Doug Owen just did. 2013 ended on a good year, 16,000 on the Dow, stocks way up, gold, silver, that's for Neanderthals, that's way down. That is going to be the mantra going into 20.
I just wanted to spur you. I knew that you would already be ready to go on that because that is all I heard. Everybody's happy. Yeah, I talked to family members. Hey, the stock market's doing well. I'm getting a return. This is the kind of inflation that we all need to see. And so on one end, you do see these very alluring and awesome numbers. I mean, everybody wants bigger numbers. That means that you're getting a return on your investment. And of course, those people are riding the train of hopium that may be derailing here in 2014. But, I put out this via Twitter, the BLN radio handle. Here's why you should buy shares of J.P. Morgan Chase in 2014. And it's on the money. In this special Best Ideas for 2014 edition of the Motley Fool's Everything Financials show, where the money is, banking analyst David Hansen and some guy named Koppenheffer tell viewers why they think J.P. Morgan Chase is a well-positioned company for 2014. Now, I'll tell you why they're well-positioned. Because, Eric Holder said that the big banks are too big to prosecute. They cannot prosecute the banks. So if the banks are unprosecutable, then why wouldn't you invest in them? I mean, you can invest in the DoomCast show and somebody can come by and whack, Charlie McGrath or Doug Owen, and then there's the end of that. So you may, lose your, $20 donation or whatever it may be. But you go with J.P. Morgan. I mean, they're not. I mean, now we have this row over them actually hiding, working in collusion with the State Department, Eric Holder's office, the Justice Department, trying to keep all of the little secrets about Bernie Madoff in the closet. And so, that's one of the biggest undercover, not reported stories, I guess, of 2013 that may rear its ugly head here in 2014. Don't hold your breath. But, but when you look at this, are you the fool to invest against J.P. Morgan? Are they criminals? If we lived in a just society, you would say that these guys can't go on for much longer. For God's sakes, everyone knows that this is a criminal institution. But, I don't know.
Yeah, it can't.
Invest in evil 2014. That's what Doug Owen says.
Well, if you want to look like you're riding the winning horse, I agree with that, Doug.
All right, don't do that. Actually, I don't condone that.
Yeah, Doug Owen said to do it, so I'm doing it because Doug Owen said to, because he's Doug Owen.
Jump right off that bridge, Charlie McGrath.
Listen, J.P. Morgan can literally kill somebody, right, as a corporate entity.
Right.
They can literally be responsible for the death of millions of people. It doesn't frickin' matter. The Attorney General has said we can't prosecute these guys because they're too systemic to the global economy. They said the same thing about HSBC, and these companies, these banks, these governments onto themselves, they are above us. They're above the government. They're above the law. They are writing the law. And until they crumble, until they fall under their own weight and their own shame and their own crimes, that is the way it's going to be. So, J.P. Morgan, they could bring Bernie Madoff, and he could have, the Watergate tapes of the involvement of J.P. Morgan, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, all of them sitting there planning the collapse of 2008, talking about how they were going to laugh as people are dying and people are losing everything and the global economy is going down the toilet. And it wouldn't matter one bit. It would not matter. That's one thing I'm convinced of, covering this for 5 years, that these people are beyond the law. These people, these corporations, and these criminals that run them, and these criminals in Washington, D.C. that make sure that they're above the law, they are untouchable. And so any investment guy that's going to come on television and say, a good investment of course it's a good investment. They own it. They own everything. You want to invest? You want a bad investment? Look at whatever doesn't make sense, right? That's what you should invest in. Paper fiat currency, this fanciful fantasy financial system that we have. You should invest in that because it makes no sense whatsoever. It makes absolutely no sense. We're taking from the nation, the wealth of the nation, and shoveling it into the coffers of a very, very select few. It isn't good for society. It isn't good for the planet. Nobody wins in this except for this little tiny, tiny minority. So invest in that because it makes the absolute least amount of sense possible. And that's the world we live in, this Orwellian looking glass world that we live in. And
Yeah.
so if you want to look at something that makes sense, right? Gold, silver, farmland, things that might actually hold their value or be valuable to society, then it's just a byproduct. It's ignored.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. I mean, if you look at what Wall Street's investing in, it's investing in prisons.
Yeah.
Buy FEMA camps
Ex-cons.
2014. That should be a slogan on a banner.
Ooh, T-shirt.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. This is all Creative Commons, so you can go out there and make a T-shirt, and if you make some profit, give it to me and Charlie McGrath, and we'll thank you on the show, obviously.
Oh, hey, whoa! Before I go any further, I want to thank. Who do I want to thank, Doug Owen?
I don't know. I got a person I want to thank, Robert Gonzalez, who sent in 27 buckaroos, and he said that he was an avid fan of the podcast that I do, and that includes, of course, you, Charlie McGrath. But
Right on.
So we did receive a donation, 27 smackaroos, not too bad.
That is not too bad. But why 27? Why not 25? Or
I don't know. I don't know because it 2 and 7, 9. Flip that upside down. 6. Do that 3 times.
696969. Oh, I got it.
Yeah, maybe. So while everybody was dreaming of sugar plums and
Wait a minute,
eating.
Wait a minute, I gotta get my thank you out there.
Oh yeah, thank you.
It's to beforeitsnews.com because they've been picking up and running the DoomCast, the YouTube feed of it. So I want to thank Before It's News for getting that out there.
Yeah, I heard that. Somebody actually responded on one of the YouTube videos saying that the reason that the episode, I think it was 19, that was so popular, maybe it was 20, was because it was on before it's news.com. I was like, wow, that's cool. So awesome.
Yeah, and I think Max Slavo at SHTF plan. Did I say SHTF? Is that right?
Hit the fan plan.
Yeah.
.com.
I think he's been posting them too. So thanks to all the independent sites that have been posting the Doomcast. I know Doug and I greatly appreciate it. And thanks for the $27 donation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for doing that. And in lieu of taking on commercial sponsors, that is the way that we can remain completely independent and we can continue this podcast. Hopefully that value is heard and taken from the listeners or taken by the listeners, and hopefully people will support us. You can do that at DoomCast.com. I'm sure in the very near future when you listen to this podcast.
Yes.
As we move forward, at least in the next week or so. So.
No, well, it'll. I'm looking at Bonnie's doing work on it right now. And I'm just looking at some of the updates she did. Yeah, it'll have. I mean, what we're gonna do is, I think we're gonna take the Wide Awake News chat room and then it'll be in both places at once. So you'll be able to go to Doomcast.com, get in the chat there. You'll also be able to see all the archives of the program there, all the YouTube videos, and be able to listen to it there as well because the Spreaker player will be embedded there.
Yeah, it's gonna be really cool. So, have you been keeping up with what's happening in the Ukraine?
A little bit. I did want to talk a little bit about that, but I'm going to let you start off because I ranted for like 5 minutes there.
Yeah, well, it was pretty epic, and I enjoyed it.
Thanks, man.
And yeah, high five. Yeah. So I've been watching a lot of RT. Had a few days off from the day job and just picking up a lot of content and news. Last night, unfortunately, I watched CNN because Anderson Cooper and Kathy Griffin were ringing in the new year. So I flipped back and forth between the bowl games and that. And it was pretty interesting. Actually, I have to note 2 things. Kathy Griffin was giving Anderson Cooper crap about being in Skull and Bones and a Yale guy and being an elitist and a Vanderbilt, which I thought was, I mean, I don't know, kind of surreal. You're watching the New Year's Eve special, and they're basically talking about secret societies and calling him Skull and Bones. So that was kind of notable. And in London, they chemtrailed, they aerosolized this fruit scent and sprayed it upon the people there. I thought, I mean, I guess it's one thing to stay. I don't know if you saw the Dubai fireworks show. It was the biggest ever, of course, because in Dubai, they want your money and they have Lamborghinis for cop cars. It's just,
It's sick.
It's to the nth degree of.
Isn't that where that's Z's new headquarter is? Dubai.
Yeah. Formerly known as Blackwater. I think now Academy is the name of the company.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Academy, yeah.
It's hard to keep up with Eric Prince. He's always moving around doing things. But
He's a
anyway,
mover.
yeah. So I was
Moving
just watching that. It was kind of surreal. Something I wanted to mention on the show, and the fact that they're spraying chemical scents on people. I mean,
so in 2013, going into 14, we're going to make it public, and we're going to talk about Skull and Bones Secret Society, and then literally Kim Trail the people. And it's for your own good.
They're probably talking about it every day. I just don't pay attention that often. I don't watch CNN. I just happen to have it on the computer, and I was like, let's see what the CIA spy Anderson Cooper's talking about. And basically, it was just lowbrow humor from Kathy Griffin talking about his junk and handcuffing herself to him. But there's some Illuminati nuggets in there, and of course, if you didn't see all of the iconography and the all-seeing eye, and I mean, I don't know. I probably counted.
Wait a minute. This was on CNN's ringing in the New Year celebration.
Yeah, they had this big eye on the bridge. Go to vigilantcitizen.com. I think that they have a write-up on it. I saw it earlier today. But yeah, I mean, there was just so much iconography. The Google.com, they had this pyramid with the all-seeing eye being this disco ball that's spinning. And people have already made some write-ups. And I think there's something to it. I don't think that it's probably as nefarious as some people might postulate, but I think they use these symbols, the iconography, to project power. So so that was kind of weird and odd. And I don't watch a lot of these big TV presentations very often, but whenever I do, I mean, I just hear so much stuff. I just I'm kind of blown away by it. And maybe people are getting that every day. That's what I would imagine. I'm just not watching that crap.
I'm kind of with you on that. I mean, I do look at a lot of print media, I guess.
Right.
But when it comes to the alphabet networks or the cable, I don't either. I mean, I really don't. Right. I'll watch them. I'll watch them if there's a political thing going on, because I like to see how or a big economic event going on, because I like to see how the establishment media is being directed in portraying the news, and so I'll watch in those instances. But day to day, I'm with you. I can't stand the paid plastic spokespeople.
I gotta take it in spoonfuls. Well, anyway, Latvia became the latest addition to the EU. They're completely broke, and they're about to feel austerity like nobody's business, and it's against the popular will of the people. They don't want to integrate into the EU. I did a bunch of write-ups on this, but I look at what's happening in Ukraine. You have the EU. They have this deal to basically bail out the Ukrainian government, which is notoriously pretty corrupt, and the people have had about their fill of them as well, and they see Moscow and foreign Russian interests and the power play by Vladimir Putin to scuttle the deal with the EU. Well, the people are, pissed off about this. So I didn't really know how much CIA involvement was afoot. We saw just a few weeks ago there was this handout, this pamphlet that is given to was given the exact same one in Nicaragua, in Tahrir Square, that basically tells people how to armor themselves and to protest and to become like a black bloc demonstrator. So it's the guide to regime change. So I mean, literally, these pamphlets are popping up all over the place. And I was watching this show. Pretty interesting. It's on RT. I don't remember the name of it, but the guy has a weird Russian accent, and it's called the Truth Seeker. I'm not sure of his name, but I gleaned this from RT a few days back, and I think you'll enjoy it. Listen to this, Charlie.
I'm here.
America's current destabilization of Ukraine's government, writes Washington-based analyst Nebojsa Malic, is following the White House regime change manual to the letter. The tip of the icebergs, U.S. senators like McCain flying to Kiev and joining the protesters, while Assistant Secretary of State Victoria Nuland hands them out candies. The reality is top U.S. officials are already calling for sanctions against the country, which would hit exactly the ordinary people they claim to be intervening for.
Okay, so I didn't know that we had John McCain, and he's
I
there
didn't
in
either.
Libya, and Victoria Nuland, who used to be the spokesperson for Hillary Clinton. Her husband's a banker. She's there in downtown Kyiv giving out candies to the revolutionaries. Now, just think about this. What if Vladimir Putin and, I don't know, maybe Lavrov and a few of his other top generals or other statesmen, senators or the like, their equivalents, came to New York City and rallied alongside Occupy? Could you imagine what the U.S. government and, of course, the media would do? They would, it would be, treasonous. It would be, I don't even know what they would do, but it would be really, really, really bad.
It's until you just announced that. I did not see that story. But I'm looking at it now. John McCain visits UK, meets with daughter of imprisoned opposition leader. And, and
it only gets better, Charlie. I have more for you.
Keep going. This is crazy interesting.
All right. So I found out that, and I was like, well, that's worth sharing with Charlie McGrath. Now listen
Absolutely.
to this. This is the icing.
The actors are calling for an emergency meeting. Already expected to attend are Helen Hunt, George Clooney.
The satire Team America notes the growing trend of actors trying to use their glamour to sway public opinion in world politics.
My fellow actors, what the world needs is an international advisory committee who truly understands global politics, namely us.
Angelina Jolie was wheeled into a photo op with disgraced Army Chief Dave Petraeus in Baghdad as people began to question the mainstream version of the Iraq disaster. Never previously showing the slightest interest in Ukraine, in a bizarre case of life imitating art, George Clooney just jumped on the Kiev bandwagon, reading a Ukraine speech from a script to the side of the camera, apparently written for him by a State Department ghostwriter.
To all of you in the square in Kiev, or all around Ukraine, we here in the United States have great affinity for those seeking democracy.
It's posturing. What does George Clooney know about the
production
economics of Ukraine? Nothing. There's a
doesn't know
CIA
crap.
manual for regime change, and it's being
George
followed to the
Clooney's
letter
a
by
spy.
people on the payroll.
Yeah, and he is
That-
on payroll.
That is insane, man. I did not hear that. I want more. And that's funny. I because over this holiday weekend, this last 2 weeks, I watched Team America.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen you've seen that, of course, right?
Yeah, life imitating reality. I mean, it's all around us.
Durka, Muhammad Jihad. Happy Sherpa Sherpa. Bacala.
That
Durka.
Yeah.
Durka.
There's a lot
Oh
of
my
truth there.
God. There's a lot. Durka.
Yeah, so first I was like, oh, well, these people in Kyiv, I can understand wanting to get away from Vladimir Putin's heavy hand and, the iron fist of Russia. I can understand that, wanting autonomy. You look at a comparison maybe to Scotland and England and Ireland and that triad and the longing for independence. But it just really amazed me that, the hubris. A total a-hole move. And it's really just flaunting and trying to piss off these people.
Did George Clooney really go to Kiev? Are you making this up?
No. He sent a message to them that he was reading from a teleprompter. Yeah, and you can see the video of him saying that. And they played that in the square. The CIA probably had their internet in a suitcase, and they popped it up on the screen. And they're like, here's George Clooney. He's behind you. Yeah, screw the EU. Screw Putin. Screw the U.S. Whatever.
Durka.
Durka. Yeah. So,
I'm a God.
and how many people are completely out to lunch? I was pretty much out to lunch, and there's so many little things that are happening because the media is absent right now. Did you hear about Dr. Dong Yu Han or Pu Han?
Nope.
Okay, this guy, he scammed $19 million for this fake AIDS vaccine. He spiked this rabbit blood to make it seem that this serum was creating antibodies. And basically, nobody else could reproduce this peer-reviewed scientific research that this guy had done. Built the taxpayers and a couple different funds out of millions of dollars. I mean, it just shows you the scam that goes on inside of the pharmaceutical industrial complex. This is the season where everyone you know that got a flu shot ended up getting the flu. Have you been talking to people that had the flu, and you ask them, hey, did you get the flu shot? And they're like, oh, I did get the flu shot.
Yeah, that is a fact. And over the last several months, I've been just inundated with people that I know who are because I've been saying on the program and in other circles that, man, it seems like everybody's sick, and it seems and that isn't just the people that are taking flu shots. It seems like there's this epidemic of these horrible sinus infections, horrible flus going around this year. It just seems I've seen that for sure.
Yeah, even I think
Durka.
In China they had a return of the bubonic plague somewhere there in Asia.
Yes. I got to get back to McCain. I got to get back, man. We flashed over this.
It's me, John McCain. I got a little John McCain ditty. Where is he at? I have him here somewhere in my soundboard.
Durka. Muhammad
here he
Jihad.
is.
That old Beach Boys song, Bomberan. Bom, 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 bom. Anyway.
Yeah, it's so fun. That's so funny, McCain.
Play the Durka for me again. Someone's going to get mad.
One more time.
Durka. Muhammad Jihad. Haka Sherpa Sherpa. Bacala. Oh, Durka.
There you go. Just for you, Charlie McGrath.
All right, look, if you're listening to this and you haven't seen Team America, go watch Team America, because it is art. Actually, it was art imitating reality, but it continues on. The same play, the same game.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's absolutely more accurate. Yeah, it's just like that poll. I think there was some kind of maybe it wasn't a poll. It was this research that was done, and they asked people that knew nothing, that watched almost no television whatsoever. They asked them a bunch of common questions about what was happening in politics, and then they asked these people that were avid Fox News viewers, and if you watch Fox News, you actually know less accurately about what's happening in the world. And it could be that you're just, you're watching, television that's curtailed to certain topics. Or maybe you're just, just frothing at the mouth, hating Obama all day long. Obama. So at some point, if that's all you watch, then, you probably have about 1,000 reasons to hate Obama and to hate Obamacare and to hate the situation that the current federal government is in, but you might not be really aware of the fact that John McCain and Victoria Nuland are giving candies out and, palling with, the superstars.
This John McCain thing, and like I said, you just brought this to my attention. It's like I've been living in a cave the last week. But, that's very interesting to me, because John McCain is like the black angel of death, right? He is the harbinger of death.
When somebody's going to be toppled or there's going to be some kind of problem, he's always there. Hey, everybody.
He precedes it. He's like one of the signs of the apocalypse. He precedes.
He's a bad omen.
He is. He shows up in Iran. In Iraq. He shows up in Libya. He shows up in Syria. And, he has all these platitudes of democracy and freedom, and we got to give these guys guns. And next thing you know, we're destabilizing or bombing the hell, or bombing Iran, as he sings about. When he shows up, it's always to precede some kind of action. Now, that it's in the Ukraine, and we have McCain there, the harbinger of death, the black cloud, is very, very interesting to me.
He's just another crony of Wall Street and the Bank of International Settlements. I mean, that's what he's doing there. Ripe to get into debt. That's what these people are for. It's not regime change. It's more the same and more debt. We just want U.S. debt.
Give us a breakdown, Owen. Give us a breakdown. The people of Ukraine do not want to belong to the EU, correct?
No, I know in Latvia the popular will was against this, and if you look at the demographics in those areas, maybe I mean, but what are you really basing that on? Okay, I could say, well, there was this Reuters poll or Pew Research Institute said, but if you look at what's happening in Italy with the pitchfork movement, I think that we see what's happening across Europe and neighboring countries as well. And
are we going to have good?
Well, I think that you're having this resounding resentment against criminal institutions, the corruptness of the state. It's very obvious to the people that live in the Ukraine that have been under years of oppression and have wanted autonomy, that have tried to maintain independence. So there's a lot of them that see the heavy hand of Russia and the financial intervention as a sign of, reassimilating, and they don't want that. So, I mean, just like in this country, you're going to find a lot of different people that feel differently, just demographically across the country. You go to the south of this country, into southern states, it's a lot different than if you go up the northern, seaboard. So,
yeah. Well, and your analogy earlier on about if we saw Putin over here, it would literally have to be something like Putin or one of his ministers coming over to support.
Imagine Hugo Chavez palling up with Occupy Wall Street and hanging out with Fidel Castro in downtown New York, and see how likely that would.
Yeah, that would be freaking hilarious, is what that would be, Dirk.
Yeah, well, one of them's dead, so it'd be magic as well. But yeah, I saw this today, and I thought it was pretty interesting. A story that I hadn't heard anything about, and it kind of dovetails into what's happening in the Ukraine, and that's this pitchfork movement in Italy. Have you heard about this? I didn't hear about it till just today.
Pitchfork and the Jew bankers?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I heard a little bit about it.
Okay, so basically, the International Business Times, IBT, had this article talking about the pitchfork movement and the rise of nationalism as opposed to globalism. So the antithesis of globalization would be nationalization, if you think about it in those kind of terms. But basically, what happened in Italy is you just recently had a technocratic takeover of the state. Okay, they removed the democratically elected government and brought in people from Brussels to Mario Draghi to basically institute austerity, to take the independence and sovereignty away from the elected body, the elected government. And so you have a huge amount of resentment. Now, I think what's interesting is that you have this party, and basically the guy who is running this, he's the spokesperson for the pitchfork protesters that are protesting in the numbers of thousands. Andrea Zunino, who basically what they call slurred and used anti-Semitic comments representing thousands of demonstrators who took to the streets. And let me see. She said,
"You have that? You have a piece of that clip, or is it?"
No, I don't have a clip of her saying this, and she would probably be saying it in Italian. But basically saying that if you look at some of the richest people in the world, 6 out of 10 of them are Jewish bankers. Now, the only thing that the people that are in these power positions, like Jamie Dimon and other Jewish banker types, can do about these kind of stigmas and stereotypes, which are going to arise. Okay, the only thing that they could do is actually cede sovereignty back to these people, because this is all a result of this disconnect between the banking aristocracy's central government in Europe and the people on the ground. It's just one-size-fits-all solution for the economic problems of the people in Italy. And don't forget that they're stealing all of their gold. They're leveraging the crap out of the Italian government, and the people that are in the Italian government are no longer Italians. So
right. They're technocrats from Brussels.
Right. So you're going to have people pointing to the richest aristocracy as the culprit in all of this, and they are. They absolutely are. So
I think the Rothschilds were mentioned in that article. Am I not right?
Yeah, the Rothschilds, and if you look at that consolidation of wealth and ownership, and if you look at how the social fabric, the social contract, and the safety nets for the Italian people, the retirement have been taken away from these people, of course you're going to see a rise in ultra right-wing fascism. You're going to see.
I've been saying that for 4 years. That you're going to see something arise in the future that's going to be akin to Nazi Germany, because it is going to be evident that the system that we have now has been engineered and been co-opted and owned by a very select few, and we're going to start pitting nation against nation, and it's happening. I mean, look at John McCain, Durka, Muhammad Jihad in the middle of Ukraine there, doing his best to stir up trouble as the harbinger of death.
Right.
This is going to continue. So we will see. Why wouldn't history continue to repeat itself? This crap's happened before. It's going to happen again. It's going to happen now. And inside of Europe, we've been talking about technocrats coming in and sovereign nations losing their sovereignty for the want and the will of Brussels. Brussels is the seat, the power, the house of power for all of the EU. That's where the technocrats in chief reside, and that has been the plan since the beginning of this so-called natural crisis, but it isn't. It's an engineered crisis. Is for the 500 million people of Europe to lose their sovereignty and give it, call it Italy still, call it Greece still, call it whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. Call it whatever you like, but it's going to be governed in Brussels. It's going to be governed by bankers. So think of Europe as America, right? Think of Europe as a one country. Forget about the nations that make up the EU. It's one nation that is now has a government that gets the people get to vote on pop culture issues that are truly meaningless to the future of their nation. Certainly meaningless to their financial future, because those decisions are just too damn important. And the people of Italy, Greece, wherever, they can't make that decision for themselves. So they need the technocrats in Brussels to do it. So they need to consolidate this power. It's why they've been talking about global financial governance since 2008. They put the pedal to the floor with that rhetoric, and that's why you see Italy losing its sovereignty to technocrats. And guess what, Americans? Guess what? You think that if you're sitting back saying, "Wow, I hope we don't go the way of Europe and give our sovereignty over to a banking cabal," they're more free than we are right now, because they still have a vote. They can fight this. We've lost this power to be self-governing here. We get to vote on, can Doug Owen be married to another man if that's what his choice is? We get to vote on stupid social issues that are distractions for us for the most part.
Yeah.
And the things that truly affect this nation, who we're going to bomb and kill, and our financial future, those things are taken right out of our hands and given to technocrats.
Yeah, and Congress has basically been neutered for quite some time, and the corporate representation, we might not be sold out to a central entity in so many ways, but really the corporate sovereignty is definitely and I see it. I mean, there is no... Charlie, before we go on, can you turn off your camera real quick? I think that it's eating up some of your bandwidth there, so you're kind of giving me a little bit of the 60 hertz jitter.
Yeah, how about now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
It's got to
10.
be better. Yeah, we'll just give more bandwidth to the audio.
Is that better?
Yeah, it sounds way better. Yeah, I mean, and if you look at what has traditionally happened, I think that people are right. I mean, if you look at the Rothschilds and how they've consolidated power, it's only because of their hubris and their disconnect that they've allowed this to become so evident and to allow so much of this transfer of wealth to happen, where you don't have people that are, happily, doing their thing and living well. And it just, I guess it frustrates me, because it would be so easy for us to really not have these issues that we see today, and it's only going to destabilize. I guess the disconnect that these people have, because when you listen to the guys from Brussels and you listen to these EU commissioners, you can tell that they're out to lunch. These people are just some idiot politicians that are just, yes men spewing whatever it is they think that, or whatever they're being paid to say, whatever political action committee has paid them, or the equivalent there in Europe. Same thing here, and they have no idea what's really happening. And you see it in Greece. I mean, you have the rise of some of these groups that, you know, I mean, yeah, the Rothschilds do own a lot, but it's not such an easy black and white issue. Saying, well, these are the people. Now, if we just killed them, then it would be great. We could figure it out. Well, you know, you're gonna have your own demons and henchmen to deal with if you go around killing everybody that you disagree with. That's what Stalin and other crazy people did. But it leads to that. It leads to these simple solutions. And you mentioned Hitler, and I would go to, you know, Franco for fascism, or at least, you know, maybe the classical definition thereof. You know, I mean, Marxism, these other, you know, systems that seem like they may be an alternative to what we have today. You know, I think that if you look at what the biggest investment, the best investment, we talked about the worst statistically. If you're measuring everything in dollar bills or against that, then gold was really bad this year. But Bitcoin was the top returner. If you had invested $100 in Bitcoin at the beginning of 2013, you would have now $5,000 plus. That's not a bad turnaround. It's a hell of a...
Durka.
Yeah, Durka. So people that followed Max Kaiser's advice and hedged with Bitcoin actually made out better. If you didn't have your Bitcoin stolen, or, you know, or your golden coins, that could happen too. But you know.
Well, I'm still spinning my wheels on the Ukraine, and I want to bounce this off you for a second, because of these attacks going on inside of Russia, these terror attacks going on there, and who's behind it, and how this plays into, you know, this same scenario, right? Because you have who's behind the terrorist attacks in Russia, and, you know, this is an article that I posted. I think you have it posted too. But I mean, it's showing
Vanderbush. That's what everybody's blaming it on, at least in the U.S. alternative media. And I mean, I guess it makes sense. I posted it because I think it's discussion worthy. And if you look at motives and who stands to benefit, you know, cui bono. Not that always indicates the criminal, but it does show you who's making money off the crime, and usually, you know.
Well, but the Saudi connection, the U.S. Saudi connection, attacks inside of Russia, this push to get the Ukraine to join the EU. I mean, it's all, you know. Is this going to be the year that we're not going to see the Arab Spring? We're going to see this, you know, Eastern European Spring and destabilization through, you know, CIA tactics and attacks through third party type of thing. And I truly believe that's what we see going on here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look what's happened in France. Here's a good example. Okay, they have this failed president, Francis Holland, and he has basically instituted a 75% tax on anybody who makes over, I think, $1 million, which seems like a huge, fantastical amount of money to make, because you and I and most of the doomers out there aren't making $1 million, but you know, these are the, well, I mean, if they were, I hope that we would be getting a few more donations than just, you know, the few that we're very appreciative for, but that are very few if we had millionaire listeners.
Well, you're sitting on that pile o' Bitcoin, and you might be there, buddy.
Pile o' Bitcoin.
Pile o' Bitcoin.
No, I don't think it's going to pan out. I don't know if it's going to pan out or if somebody's going to buy them. I mean, I don't have big money problems at all. It makes my life very simple. I don't have, you know, I guess if you have millions of dollars, you have to think about, okay, well, where the hell am I going to move now? Because I'm not going to stay in this place. Before you know it, they're going to be burning, you know, rich people at the stake because of the failed policies of socialism and whatever the hell. I mean, basically, he's a proud socialist. That is the platform. It's the socialist platform, which is failing miserably.
Wait a minute, you lost me. Who? What?
I'm talking about France.
Oh, France. Okay, I'm I'm
we're
here.
just
I'm in
bouncing
Russia.
around
So.
We're bouncing around Europe
Okay.
and the European Union and those like Latvia that are now joining Ukraine, which is ripe for regime change. But that's really more of a proxy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about the Volgograd bombings. Who stands to benefit? Well, if you look at this coordinated attack on Russia, and mostly it's been through propaganda leading up to the Olympics, it's saying that the LGBT community is being engaged or being chastised and turned into thought criminals in Russia. So you have this, I think, a lot of resentment. You see it basically manifesting in Syria. You see it happening with the Olympics. And now just in the lead up to the Olympics, 2 dual bombings from these quote unquote some kind of radicalized ladies from Dagestan. Come on. I mean, there's one thing that comes from Dagestan, and that is CIA trained and funded Islamists. And so I see a lot of this really being a proxy war, but there's a lot of parallels with what's happening in the Ukraine. It's a power move.
Yeah, that's it, and that's where how do we know this is geopolitics, right? And how do we know this is posturing for certain corporate interests? Well, the first sign is the black cloud, the harbinger of death. John McCain has been brought in, right? And now they're bringing on the Film Actors Guild to do their part. But what I thought was interesting about this story with these attacks in Russia is that this Prince Badar, right, or Bandar rather, he was alleged as offering Putin all kinds of military contracts and even to keep his warm water port in Syria if he would let Assad fall and he wouldn't back Syria. And Putin's like, no, forget about that noise. But he also alluded to the fact that I can give you a guarantee to protect the Winter Olympics in Sochi on the Black Sea next year. So, Doug, this will probably be one of the first things that the first big events that we could see kicking off 2014 is some kind of wacky attacky in Sochi or these continued attacks in Russia. And as Sybil Edmonds, who I've interviewed a few times, talked about, that eventually these states, these Eastern European nations, these peripheral former Soviet satellite nations, are going to be the next war on terror battleground. And voila, here we go.
Yeah. It's amazing the amount of coverage and news that has come out of the Russian media. I mean, after 9/11, we saw video, and they showed the video over and over again. You have that same kind of effect going on. They just keep showing the video of the bomb going off over and over and over again. But there's just been so much access to what's going on. But it's going to be interesting to see how this hunt. Vladimir Putin, of course, has vowed to eliminate, kill, assassinate, karate chop, eliminate the Russian.
He's a
terrorists.
badass.
Yeah,
he's a badass.
He's going to fly in on his eagle after he gets done wrestling with a bear, maybe a brown grizzly, and he will be over there.
Russians infatuate me. I'm infatuated with Russians.
Why?
Because they're different. They're looking at their military, looking at their equipment, looking at their attitude, and especially over the last couple of years, I've probably done 100 RT interviews, and so I've learned a little bit about their how they operate and their culture and that kind of thing, and it's sparked me to do a little more research into their history and that kind of thing. They're different. They're just I don't know. I'm fascinated by them.
Well, I mean, I would say that they are
Durka.
Well, I mean, they're definitely. There's more of a religious background. I mean, you do have blasphemy laws. You do have this power struggle between Putin and the Orthodox Church. So, but you do have a lot more participation in the church government doctrine. So it's going to be a lot different. It's definitely in just I think the hardship in the fall of the Soviet Union, back in the late 80s, in early 90s, has definitely changed the landscape a lot. So the people are changing a lot. Beforehand, you're part of the cog, and you might be lucky enough to get into one of those wacky, 10,000 people, parades where they, have flags. I mean, that's kind of the pinnacle. If you didn't get put into the gulag for thought crimes or for speaking out against the state or against the church, then, it was pretty good. But, it's different because at some point, you did not get to choose your destiny. You were taught when you were children there is a pecking order, and they learned about that. And then to have this kind of almost true free market capitalist military industrial complex energy consortium take over, very similar to what we have here, kleptocracy in the United States, has definitely changed the people. And you talk to a lot of them, and sadly enough, they yearn for collectivism again. They look back, as most of us do. I think most people romanticize yesteryear and where the things used to be. And so, I mean, as a country, I think they have, and it's so diverse. I mean, there's so many different ethnic groups. I mean, you look at, they have tons and tons of Mongolians and the Asians that I would never, when I was younger, imagine. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of Asian people in Russia. How weird is that?
It's the biggest land, geography-wise, biggest land or biggest nation on earth. But and they're also very, as a people, as a country, they have been, their people have been through the ringer. Usually because of ideology, but they're very, very hardy background. And if it was a situation where the East versus West again, it'd be very interesting, because I think that they're fully rebuilt militarily. I think they truly are. I mean, obviously they're not at the superpower status that they were, but I still think they hold a lot of sway, and they have a lot more power and a lot more ability than most Americans would realize. And so
did you see the Christmas card to Obama with all of the Russians there in front of the intercontinental ballistic nuke? It was all over Drudge and a bunch of websites this morning. But I think but here's a sign of what's happening there. They're building fake tanks, so the people from above see fake tanks. And actually, Vladimir Putin got a lot of heat for it. Why are you building this paper tiger? And quite differently here in the U.S. And of course, all of our friends in Jordan and Tel Aviv, not to, disparage NATO and all of the other stakeholders and free democracies, wink, wink, allies to the U.S. But when you look at the technology that's being developed here, and it's being developed by Google and the Google bots and the mechanization of war, and even now, 2014, we're going to have freaking exoskeletons on our troops. Okay? We have drones. We have, those are, 40 years old. We have there's no shortage of money that's being invested, not only in the U.S. military-industrial complex and through the Pentagon, but to our friends in Tel Aviv. We tripled the amount of war appropriations that we're giving to Israel. We just had this huge, Saudi Arabia, you mentioned, we're selling them tons of weaponry, most of which is flowing into Syria. And so that's the schism. That's right there. I mean, that's why, I'm not pro-Russia or I'm not a statist. I think that I understand the game that's played. I understand geopolitics, but I don't take sides, because ultimately, I think if you start hero-fying one group because you think they're opposed to maybe the Rothschilds and the United States government, the Queen, then you'll become or fall prey to propaganda from the other team. And the other team's probably just as bad, but they point at different. So you have. But one of the great things is you can go to RT and get a very critical assessment of of what's happening in this country, and then if you really want a critical assessment of what's happening in Russia, maybe even hyperbolically, you can go to Bill Gertz and the Washington Beacon. You can get freaked out about China and the coming war with China. There's plenty of other, there's the exact counter punch to all of that you can find in U.S. media. So, yeah, but ironically, you have to kind of go outside of your, geographic area to get honest opinions about
the area of doing the reporting. Yeah, isn't that fun?
Well, and you mentioned it earlier, globalization and how you have people from afar that are making decisions. That's one of my big problems with globalization, the New World Order, the whole idea behind it, the whole concept that there are people that are thousands of miles away from where I live. They can make a better decision for me and my family in my local area. It's just not true. Once you have somebody that's controlling people that they can't even, they have no idea who they are, that are making decisions that affect people that they don't see. That's where we have this huge disconnect. If you look at tribalism versus globalism, in local communities versus this whole idea that we have a global. We think local, but we act global. In the inverse of that. So, I think what we're seeing in Europe with all of these cases that globalization has led to this divide between the people and the people that are supposed to be representing us.
No doubt about it. And that disconnect, it doesn't have to be across the pond. I mean, it could be even in our own borders. DC taking on the role of superseding states' rights and determining what's best for the folk. But it's one thing to have an ideology that says that it's a mistaken ideology, but this elitist notion that there are a select few, there is this upper crust, this upper tier that knows better and is the best caste to rule and the best caste to move society forward. I mean, to me, that's disgusting. But it's even more disgusting to see this behind-the-scenes shadow government that takes these oafs, like the harbinger of death, the Black Cloud, John McCain, and puts them up there as a person in a seat of power, and then funds them and then basically drives them. So we see, that's why we see him going out to harbinge death before we go in and destabilize regions of the world. So, yeah, I mean. What's a crow about? Why am I eating crow?
No, that's not crow. That's the albatross of death.
Oh,
that's what you hear when you hear John McCain. It's the eagle of freedom. That's what the people of Kyiv. You have to look up above him because there's always one circling around.
That's the freedom eagle.
Yeah, well, his head, that nested egg dew he has up there. They like to come down and
Dirka, Muhammad Jihad.
You like that a lot.
Dirka, Muhammad Jihad.
It kills me. Dirka. The whole scene, that scene kills me because he's trying to get into what was it? The
secret
bar.
Terrorist den lair.
Yeah,
at the bar.
It was like the Star Wars bar scene.
Yeah.
Dirka, Muhammad.
Yeah. He's basically trying to open sesame, trying to get through, and doesn't speak a lick.
There's two.
You don't need to speak Arabic. You don't need to speak Farsi as long as you're an actor and just say stuff. But it's so real, those guys.
Just so real. If you haven't seen it, watch it, and you'll know what I'm cracking up about. It's hard. I mean, it's what are they? They're not even Muppets. They're
puppets.
They're puppets. Yeah, with the strings and all that. So
yeah,
it's hilarious. It's hilarious. All right, buddy, wrap it up, man. DoomCast 1 for 2014 is in the books.
Yeah, number 22, the very first inaugural 2014 edition of DoomCast. I want to thank all of you for supporting the show, continuing to tell people about it. BeforeIt'sNews.com, all of you out there that post it, shithitthefan.plan.com and others. And Charlie, we'll do it again next week, man. Take care.
Dirka.